there's so much to talk about and nothing at the same time. I mean, I'm constantly learning. That's why, like, I understand that why you want to talk to me about it right now because I'm in the middle of it. But I'm like, I don't feel like I'm a father.
That
I've
this is the
granted,
golden moment. This
yeah.
is it. And welcome everybody to the podcast. This is Blake's Uncommon Sense podcast. I'm having my boy CR is back on again.
Boy,
New daddy,
yes, sir.
brand new father.
Hmm.
Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah.
Father of a little girl.
Yes. Her name is Lou. She was born on
Woo.
Valentine's Day at
Oh, there you go.
almost 3 a.m., like 2:39.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's been a blast. It's been scary. It's been tiring, but so far so good. I think I'm up to the challenge because it's definitely a challenge. That's the least you can say.
It's crazy, eh? And I was talking to my girlfriend the other day because we were talking about one of her friends who's having issues with the kid not sleeping and all these things that are going on in their life, and they have a interesting family dynamic, to put it to the least. But it was this, like, she was talking to me about the stuff that they're talking about. We both kind of looked at each other like what? Like, so they want to sleep train their infant from the get-go. But I'm like, I don't know. I always look at things from a psychoanalytical perspective, and I'm thinking about, like, so if I'm this thing, this fresh human who doesn't understand anything, doesn't know, whatever, doesn't know when it's hungry, doesn't know when it's tired, it can't put two and two together for anything, right? The only thing that it knows at the point of birth is that it needs to be held. That's it. That's all it knows. So for me, this idea of that I'm going to sleep train an infant right off the bat, to me, is just insane. It's like, one, with the amount of nerves I had when mine was born, I was waking up every hour anyways to make sure the thing was still alive.
Yeah,
So
I get that. Is
you
it
know what I
still
mean?
breathing?
Is it still breathing? Like,
Yes. Okay. Fine.
yeah, it's it. Like, you wake up, you look, you're like, okay, we're good. Like, I slept like a mummy that first 2 months because she slept in the middle in the bed with us in one of those little dock-a-tot things there, and like I'd wake up and like look over and be like I put my face, like I put my ear to her, like her mouth, to be like,
100%. I do
okay,
that.
okay, she's still breathing. We're okay. We're okay.
Yeah. I concur with that. It's something that happens like on a regular basis.
It's nuts, man.
In
It's
the
nuts.
middle of
So
the day, I'll just turn around and look at her, and she's on the other side of the room, like, "You breathing over there? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
you're alive. You good?
Good.
Okay.
Cool.
It's crazy, eh?
Yeah.
So
But yeah, go ahead, please.
no, I was gonna say. So go ahead. No, what were you gonna say?
Well, because before the kid was here, I was
Yeah.
part of those people that would go, I'm gonna sleep train the kid. I'm going to create separation. I'm gonna make sure that my life still goes on.
Mm-hmm.
I was part of that, and I was ignorant. Uh,
I don't think
and
it's ignorance. I think it's just you don't.
it
I
is
think.
because you don't have the baby, you don't get the connection. You
Mm-hmm.
don't. But I do understand why people would want to do that because they want to make sure that their lives still go on the same track, and just add the kid as a side, and so it follows them. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I want to do that on a certain level, but I've definitely with my wife come to the conclusion that it needs to, like, she needs to be held.
Yeah.
And but like this like I try to create some sort of distance when she's sleeping. I put her down.
Yes, of course.
But
Of course.
like I have those moments with my child that I enjoy a lot. But in the middle of the night, if I can, I put her down, and I've become really good at being able to fall asleep while she's in the same room as me. But I haven't been able to fall asleep if she's next to me in the bed, even though
Mm-hmm.
we have the thing that you talked about. I don't know what's the name in English, but
Dock-a-tot, I think
yeah,
it's called.
it's like a little thing you put
Yeah.
in there so she
Yeah, exactly.
over,
So she
but
can't roll one way or the other. It keeps her in
I
the
can
middle.
roll on top of her, so I don't do it. We bought this thing that's on wheel. It's basically on the same height of
Right.
the bed,
Hmm.
and like she's in bed with you, but outside, so you cannot roll and she cannot fall, and it's really nice. But as it's been almost 3 weeks now, and as further down the road, I feel like I'm gonna like try to put her out of the room,
Hmm.
not because she's making well. First of all, a toddler, for people who don't know, it makes a tons of noise even though it's sleeping. It's going. It's
Yeah,
like
always. It's always
my wife.
creaking
My wife
and
can't.
yeah,
Like she's so stressed around her because she thinks something's happening and she needs her, which is fine. But I'm the one who sleeps with the kid in the room while she's sleeping somewhere
yeah,
else, get the good sleep and be able to come back and breastfeed and take
yeah,
care of her while it's her turn or whatever at night. So I'd say that I'm not definitely not trying to teach her how to sleep right now. I'm more in a situation where I try to go with her flow. Right now, this thing is basically it's a digestive tube.
that's
So
all
that's
it
all
is.
it
Yeah,
is. And when she sleeps and when I feel like she's comfortable, I'll keep her around. But I know that I need to sleep myself too. But I'll put her down if it works, and it will go from 1 hour to almost 5 hour. Right now, we're 3 weeks in there, and I
yeah,
sometimes I get those big stretches of 5 hour usually during the day. But it's more of a she has her own schedule, and you have to build around it and not
yeah.
impose a schedule on her. That's
Hmm.
so far that's how I've been trying to work with it so far.
That's all you can do. Like, and that's the thing. That's why it always amazes me. Um, I always look at it like, or I was talking to my buddy this morning about it because I think he's going to start trying to have kids soon and stuff. But I was like, a lot of people try to find, I think, a workaround when it comes to kids, you know, like infants and babies, you know, they're like, I'm going to follow this plan and that plan. It's like, listen, the whole structure of having a newborn in the way that they are, you know, you have to wake up every 3 hours and feed them. You have to clean them. You have to do like your life is so erratic,
Yeah,
right? But this prepares you to learn how to be somebody who can be a parent because you have to be on your shit all the time when you're
yeah,
around
it's
kids. Like
24/7. There's
that's
no
it. Like there's no let up and you're going to be tired and you're going to be exhausted and you're going to be, you know, frustrated and you're going to have these moments where whatever, but like those I mean, you know, from playing football and stuff, it's like the times when you make the best connections with people is when you're in your most dire of straits. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's like the whole military mentality. Like if you go through hell together, you come out as brothers on the other side. Well, it's the same thing with family and babies. Like as men, as males, whatever your connotation, whatever you want to use, the one who's not giving birth, right? You don't go through the pain and the suffering and the agony and all this kind of stuff. You don't go through um, all these different things to birth a child, you know, and then have this thing come out of you and you're like, oh shit, this is what it all was for. You don't get the dopamine shot. You don't get the adrenaline. You don't get this thing and this like you're outside watching this train wreck happen.
yeah,
And then as you go along, like when I messaged you, it's like you literally are a servant for however long they need you to be,
yeah.
you know? So it's like when she's tired, you go get her something, you go get her whatever she needs. When she's hungry, you go get them whatever they need. When they need when the
Everything.
clothes need to be when the clothes need to be washed, you go wash them. When the house needs to be cleaned, you clean it. Like you don't have any say, or at least if you're doing it, I guess if you're doing it in a certain way, but like you don't have any say in what goes on because that connection between the two of them is so endearing and so unique that you can't fuck with it.
No,
You have to let that happen. So you have to be like this secondary parent to a certain extent almost, where you kind of let things transpire, you let them fall in love, you let them do what they're doing. And then you come in, you know what I mean? Then you come in afterwards and I'll leave, yeah, you know, a while. I mean, like it wasn't for me, I don't think it was up until mine was like a year and a half, maybe a year, where she started wanting me. as opposed like and physically wanted like reaching for me, not just like whatever, not like oh, okay, yeah, I'll put her to bed and she's gonna cry and okay, whatever, but like reaching for me and then getting calm on me and then sitting on me, you know what I mean? Like it took a while, and it's a weird thing where you're giving your life to this, like you said, this blob, and not getting any kind of reciprocation for a while, and it makes you feel like a lesser for a certain, you kind of feel like, well, I matter. I'm doing something. Like,
well, for now, for me right now, it's been I'm always double checking with my wife. Am I doing enough? Like if every time I go back to bed, I'm like, are you good? Is there something else you should? Yeah, because we've come to the conclusion there's no point of me sitting down next to her while she's breastfeeding. I should just go back, even though if it's for 15 minutes, I just go back to bed. Early on it was very, like you said, erratic, was nonstop. It wasn't, you couldn't find a schedule around it. We found some sort of trick. The thing with the toddler is whatever works this week's not going to work next week, or maybe cross fingers crossed, and you're like, but we like to. I like to make sure that she's got everything she needs and she gets the good sleep. So usually I'm the one sleeping with the child, but you're right on the fact that I haven't felt needed by the kid yet. And this is where like I try to that need of being useful, I put it on my I give it to my wife. Like, okay, how can I help you right now? Do you have enough stuff? What do you need? And so far, my wife personally, she's been like, okay, take the kid. I'm gonna clean up. I got enough of this.
Yeah.
For now, she's kind of like not fed up, but she's like, the kid's been on me for like 6 hours straight the whole night and been crying. I got a few good hours of sleep in the morning, and now I want to do something else. So I'm like,
yeah,
it's not a problem. That's our dynamic. I get that some people might, like, I don't know how to say that, but they could switch more often. But how we do it on our side is there's like 3 parts of a night. It starts at 8 till midnight. Usually this is my wife who's in charge, and then I do a bunch of stuff around the house, wherever, and then I get from, I don't know, from 10 to wherever she doesn't need her mom.
Yeah.
And she gets to sleep, and then I get this part of the night, and then in the morning that's me. We try to find some sort of schedule around Lou, basically, and it seems to be working right now. But it's always Vanessa first. Like, okay, what do you need? How do you feel about it? Because she's the one breastfeeding. Like, sometimes I go, well, you've been feeding her for like 45 minutes, but she tells me like she's been like fucking around. She's not even drinking properly. So I should be like, she's the one with all the information. And from there, I'm a big fan of plan. It's like a huddle it's stupid to go back to football again, but it's a huddle every 10 minutes. Like, okay, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Okay. Baby's clean. She's fed. And she doesn't want to go to bed. Okay, what can we do? And it's always like repeating down those steps, trying to take it away from my wife so she can sleep. That's the only reason I would take away the child from her. And that's pretty much it. And then within that, try to squeeze some work, even though I'm on paternity leave. Yeah. I've been off for almost 3 weeks now. I'm starting a new job next week.
Congratulations.
And I don't know how this is going to work, but it's going to be interesting. But for now, I've been lucky enough to be able to be available at all moments. Now it's going to be different, but I feel like during the day, Vanessa is going to be fine now. It's just, you have to work around the kid and not. I feel like, okay, I'm going to try to put my thought together. Just make sense. Right now, my life circles around the kid.
Of
Eventually, later on, I'm a big fan of priority is the couple, and the child is part of it, but it shouldn't be like put on a pedestal. I wasn't put on a pedestal as a kid, and it helped me respect my parents. But this is further down the road.
Yeah, this is way down.
Like, probably just before teenage years. But anyway, some people try to put that right away, and I've seen it. They're like, well, my life keeps going. and that's the way it is. And the child's not going to necessarily concur to that with you. Actually, it won't.
To
And
dictate, yeah.
you should just. I have time now, and and it changes my mind on a lot of things. I draw for most of my living, but also it's one of my part time. When I get away, I start drawing,
Yeah.
and the type of person who would sit down at 7 p.m. wouldn't draw a fucking line until midnight, and then from midnight to 3 would start something. But because I have like this little period where I look at stuff and I'm just getting in some sort of mood. I'm not saying I'm an artist, but I'm just I need to get there. But now I know when I have time, but I don't know how long I have.
Yeah.
So it's like if I get to draw or do something that I like, I must just make the best of it. And
Yeah.
there's a very, very positive thing out of this, I feel, because I've been part of those people who just go, I have time, I'll take my time, and I don't necessarily at the end. Sometimes at the end of the night, I wouldn't have done anything good because I was just fucking around on the internet and everything. Now, because of my child dictates most of my time, when I have a little thing going on for me, I have to make the best of it. And I feel like this thing can be used on every responsibility or activity that you need to do in a day. Well, now it's down, it's sleeping. What do I do? How do I get the best of my day before I can, and then I can go to bed later or try to get some sleep later? So there's this big positive thing that I feel I can get onto it, or at least get something positive out of it, because I don't have a lot of time, and I try to make something out of it every time. It doesn't have to be big. Like for example, drawing. I haven't been able to draw anything amazing. You've been asking me to do your logo and stuff, and I really want to do, but every time I start, I don't know how long I have. So
of course, no, and it's understandable, yeah.
And and but at least if I do one thing down, like I try to do a sketch, or I try to do something podcast, or I try to clean up or anything, at least get one thing down. So I feel like personally I have accomplished something today besides feeding, cleaning, and making sure my wife is fine. Because I don't know. I feel at the end of the day, that's the roughest part. It's not the lack of sleep. It's not the fact that you don't know how to necessarily answer all the reaction to your child. Is the fact that I get nothing done. I need to keep going forward on something. So that's how I get those little moments. But it definitely needs to be wrapped around the kid and not the other way around.
That's
you don't have a choice. Otherwise, it's just going to be pain. You just hit a wall all the time. So far, so good. I mean, nights are rough, but the days are fine. Like today's a good day. I can't complain. She's being really, really nice. She's been eating well. She's going right now. I think she's asleep. I'm lucky. Everything is a flip of a coin. I feel
that's it.
You don't want to jinx it. You're like,
well, that's it. Yeah. And it's one thing that you learn is I think what it does is it simplifies your life to a certain extent. And it makes you really happy for those small things that you not necessarily you took for granted, but those things that you really, I don't know, those stupid things that you used to complain about, or those dumb things that you got mad at, and you just realize that like is something as like you said, something is like not having your kid screaming for the whole day, or just having like a smooth transition from eating dinner to doing a puzzle or playing or whatever, and then being okay putting on their pajamas and then reading them a book and them just going straight to sleep, like with no hiccups or or negotiations or arguments or whatever, or I don't want to do this, or whatever, or game plays. Like
she's like her mom. This is gonna be complicated.
Oh, dude, like mine is. I knew the second. The funny thing is, so for mine, like I knew the second that like we were gonna start having a kid, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna get out. Like I'm gonna get out negotiated every single time. Like they're just gonna get me every single. Like she's gonna get me every single time. Turns out she's not really like my girlfriend. She's more like my mother.
Okay.
So like And my mom is like worse than my girlfriend about negotiating stuff, and like she knows how to play on like your sympathies, and she knows how to like coerce you into doing things. And I'm just like, okay, like just like she knows how to, like, and she looks at me with this like, I knew she was like my mom when she gave me this like evil smile that my mom would get, like when she knows she's got you.
I won.
And I was just like, oh no, it's hereditary. Fuck. Shit. I'm screwed. We had it like we were the other a while ago, when we were allowed to like go outside. We went for a walk with my mom and them, keeping distance, being safe, everything. Like I'm not in contact with anybody. We were being safe about it, whatever. And they were just kind of like
outside, which is allowed with this.
That's it.
You're using your brain.
Exactly. We were being smart about it, right? Like we got COVID tested, everything was fine. She was good. Before the holiday, we took her out of school early. We got her tested. We got ourselves tested. Everything was fine. We were good. We knew there was nothing wrong. We didn't see anybody. And then we went to go play, whatever. So they were outside playing. And like I left them both alone for a while, and I could just hear them like laughing and playing. And it was like looking in a mirror, like them just laughing at each other, playing with each other, doing things. I'm like, you guys are the exact same person, like exactly the same. It's exactly. And it's crazy to really see that. Like you think that like, we're really, a large part of us is about our, upbringing and who our parents are and all this kind of stuff. But it's like, you'll see there are things that you don't even teach them that are just in there.
They pick up on
it's not even pickup, it's just there. It's like things you'll know you've never said, the things you've never done, like, and you'll just look at them and be like, what the fuck is that? Like, how did that get there? I was like, it's insane, dude. It's biology and parenting is just like this. I don't know. I consider it the great equalizer, because it really, for me, I was reading this. What was it? I was reading this book. Was it Michael Jordan? It was about somebody else. I think it was like Ken Griffey Jr., something like that, like his dad and him or something like that. But the one thing that he was saying that his dad always talked about was that never let your fears become the fear of your children.
Okay.
So to be a good parent, you got to be self-actualized in terms of, you got to know the things that you're scared of. You got to know the things that you do that are stupid. You got to know the faults that you have. And you don't necessarily have to fix them, but you got to know that you're not translating those things onto your kids. You know what I mean? Like there are things like you can't be short. You can't, all these weird things. So it's like, whenever I'm talking, because I have a habit of that, I get frustrated with people when they're just talking and they're talking nonsense and we're just going around in circles, and I'm just, okay, yeah, fuck this. Like, I'm not dealing with this. And if like with her, so what I told myself was, I'm going to explain everything that I can. So if I start getting frustrated or if I start getting like annoyed, I'm going to stop. I'm going to hold her and be like, listen to me. You're doing this. This is frustrating me because you're not paying attention to what's going on. This is what I want you to do. We can do what you want to do after, but this has to get done first. Yeah. You know what I mean? And half the time it works and half the time it doesn't. But what I'm starting to see in her is I'm starting to see that pattern of explaining her actions and thinking about what she's doing is starting to like come into her mind, which is like, it's okay,
really good.
Yeah, which is what I'm like, okay, starting, like, we're getting it,
that's kind of scary for me, because it's in a while. I mean,
it'll be here before you know it.
Yeah,
like, it's gonna come so fast. Like,
I know how, like, I've pictured myself being a certain type of father.
Yeah.
And I know that whatever I've pictured is gonna be blasted out the door, because it's never, like, nothing in life works out the way you want. but it could go well in the direction you want to go, but not exactly or precisely as you want it.
That's it.
And my wife tells me like I'm like I come from football, and I when there's panic around in our couple, I go, okay, enough. And I've become this, as much as I'm a very very sensitive person, and I'm in tune with my emotions. I feel
Mm-hmm.
I'm very honest about them. I don't shy away from them, but there's a point where I go, fuck this. I've become like Coach Charles, and I'm like, this. We're going to do this. Enough of
Yeah.
this. We're moving forward. And
Yeah.
it's usually, if I'm being fully honest, my wife is pretty much the leader in our couple. I
Of
mean,
course.
super smart woman that
Yeah.
is like, usually she's at the head of a big company. She's on top of her things at all time, and I don't have a problem having her lead around. But sometimes when she goes sideways, I take on the lead of panic mode, and
Mm-hmm.
this works for me. And I feel like this is going to happen with the child, because I don't mind my wife having the lead on all this stuff, but I feel like
Yeah.
discipline is something that I want to have in her life, my child, because I feel like it served me very very well in my professional life and all different spheres. But at the same time, if I look at my wife and her sister and my sister, I'm like, I'm gonna get one of those teenagers that's just gonna go burn down the house and not listen to me. So it's gonna be this balance of, like you said, speaking out what you need, communication skills, and at least try to get my point across and listen to her. But I have no idea how this is gonna either work out, or if it's gonna work out at all, because I remember as a child, and this is the only thing I can, relate to, and I don't even know if it's actually, relevant. I was one of those kids where the minute I could understand something, why I was doing it, I wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
That's why
I'm the
I
same
did
way.
really well in football.
Yeah.
Like, you would give me responsibility, I knew understanding, I knew why I was doing them. My parents, I actually I was the devil from 0 to I think 5. I was a super ADHD kid. I had a lot of problem concentrating, um, and from the moment things got better, I could understand why I was doing stuff. It
Mm-hmm.
was over. I was never a problematic teenager. I mean, my parents never gave me like big limitation. My
No.
father used to say in French, "T'as de la corde, pends-toi pas avec." So basically, if you translate that, it's like, you got a lot of rope, just don't hang yourself with it.
That's it. Yeah.
Be smart about it,
Yeah.
and I've never like I've found my limits on my own, never pushed beyond them, because I knew that this was necessary. And then on the other side, you had my sister, who did like sleep the second day she was born, was never a problem until she hit 30 until she was 13. And my
13 and
brother
then
still has a problem with her today.
yeah. Yeah.
It's still hard with my sister is a stubborn woman,
Yeah.
very strong woman, and this scares the crap out of me, because I don't feel well equipped with these
Yeah.
people. The communication is different. I don't know. This is going to be a learning curve.
Yeah. I have it's the exact same thing in my family. The thing that I see though is I think we have the benefit of growing up with women.
Mhm.
So we know how women work to a certain extent. We know about it like you said.
I wouldn't say I know, but I'm not clueless to.
Well, because so like in my instance, I grew up with my sister, my mother, my aunt, my cousin, and my grandmother in the same house.
Okay.
So the majority of the people I was around were girls. So like I kind of got the understanding that, like this is how these people do. This is, how it works. I got used to it. For me, it was being around guys that was the weird thing, because I wasn't used. The only guy I was used to being around is my father. And my father at that time was, like in his mid 40s going on to early 50s. So, and he doesn't talk. My dad doesn't talk much. My dad's a doer. He's not a talker. So like every once in a while, he'd spit out some wisdom, or if we talked about football, he talked about that. But like, but he wouldn't talk about like his upbringing when I was younger. He wouldn't really talk about a lot of other things. Be like, listen to your mother, ask your mother, all this kind of stuff. She's the boss, that kind of stuff. So But the one thing that I do, I always take into consideration is that, and I actually, somebody on my, that I had on my podcast, James Townsend, who's like leading the way, like, you know, how to raise a successful daughter. You know what I mean? How to raise a powerful daughter.
Does he have like 2 girls and he owns?
He's the one with the 2 light-skinned kids, the girl who does the gymnastics and CrossFit and everything. And like, yeah, he's the way he's doing things. I take notice of, because he's really bringing the idea that a man can raise a girl in the proper, like, in a way where you can allow a woman to be a woman, but she can be powerful. And like, you as a man, it's not a question of you having to take a back seat, but a question that you can actually be involved and have your girl be a part of what you do. And that will bring her to a point of where, you know, she doesn't need that kind of like approval. She doesn't need that kind of whatever, you know, whatever. Like, she'll just stand on her own and be a strong woman. Because I think as parents, as fathers of daughters, your biggest fear is that she's going to go, or she's going to be around, you know, that shithead friend you had who treated women like shit. Like, you're always afraid that that's what they're going to go to. So you're trying to instill in them everything you possibly can,
to be able to,
yeah, so that they can just be strong. You know what I mean? Because I think in the previous generations before us, like, even when my father, when he talks about, you know, trying to raise my sister, or in any other case, it was protecting them, you know, like keeping them away from danger. It's like, I'm not stupid. I grew up with enough girls to know that I can't protect my daughter from everything. You know what I mean? Like, it's more beneficial for me to teach her how to stand on her own 2 feet, how to be powerful, how to be, you know, whoever she wants to be, and empower herself in that way, so that she doesn't need necessarily like the affection, not affection, but she doesn't need the what's the word I'm looking for?
Another person, if I may say.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, she doesn't need the approval of somebody else. Like, she knows who she is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's like what I wanted to explore. Like, I don't care whatever she is. I don't care if she, you know, I don't care about, you know, as long as she's not hurting anybody, whatever she's into, I'm happy. You know, like, a lot of my friends are like, oh, is she going to play sports? Is she going to whatever? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe she doesn't care about sports. Like, maybe she wants to do intellectual stuff. Like, I don't know. I like, really, like I say it all the time to my girlfriend. I'm like, I had one wish, that she's smart. That's it. I don't give a fuck about anything else. Like, she got a brain in her head and she can think, and she's like, you know, I just wanted her to get stuff, like, so she wouldn't have to struggle through school. But that's it. Everything else, as long as she's healthy, I don't care if she can't run fast or jump high or do things athletically. Like, I don't care if she's not like dropped, you know, and like if she's not stereotypically drop dead gorgeous or whatever. Like, I don't give a fuck about any of that thing. I just want her to be okay. That's it. I just want her to be happy, healthy, and smart. That's it. That's all I care. And so far, so good.
Yeah. I like the part where you said that you empower your daughter instead of defending her the whole. Well, there's a big part of our job to defend them.
Of course, yeah.
But I feel like giving them tools. I don't know if I'm the right person to be able to give those tools, but I'm gonna try.
Sure, you are. Well, that's it.
I got lucky. I feel like we have the same upbringing on the side of the women part. I was raised with a younger sister and my mother.
Yeah.
And my father wasn't really there until I was like 8.
Mm-hmm.
He was working a lot. He was present. I remember my father until day one, but he was really working a lot. I got in a very difficult relationship with my father later on because I worked for him on the family business, and it was rough, but I was really close with my mom. And like, fun story for me, I remember for the longest for as far as I can remember, when I used to go to my grandma's, my grandma always had the coloc roommates that were women.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I was 16 that I realized that my grandmother was technically a lesbian.
Yeah.
She had so women were around all the time, and they were
Hmm.
always powerful women. One of my aunt is a cop. Some of them are musician. I had like amazing people around me that were women. So it was like I was never exposed to weak,
No, yeah, exactly.
like none of them.
And it's weird, right? As a dude to be, because especially me going through my teens and my 20s, um, I always found that like when I was dating or when I was friends with, I would girls, I was so used to having strong women around. Like I was so used to having women who spoke their mind, women who would tell me, like you're being an idiot, like all this kind of stuff, like opinions. All I wasn't used to docile people. Like I was calm and I was quiet because everybody around me, the mostly being women, were always loud. Like they'd always talk loud and be loud and whatever. And I was like, okay, that's just how you are. Like it's fine. But then when it came to me, I always found when it came to me dating, I guess I would go for the stereotypical, like shy girl, whatever, who you think like you're supposed to date and all this kind of stuff. But then I would just be like, it's not, I'd almost be like, man, I think it's not too easy, but it's like, there's not enough pushback.
Yeah.
Like there's not enough, like where's the headbutt, that I'm so used to? Where's the stop being an asshole? You know what I mean?
Like you need, I feel like being challenged on a regular basis is important.
That's it.
If everything is easy, that's where you take things for granted.
Yeah, I don't want anything easy. It took me a long time to realize that in my life, but I don't want anything that comes easy. I just don't care about. If a job is easy, I end up losing it because I don't give a shit. I just don't care.
Like that's one of the reasons why I hopefully I hope they don't hear it, but whatever. That's why I was. Well, first of all, I'm moving towards gaming as a job, but I was
smart
in the agency for a long time,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of people were blowing smoke up my ass about how good and fast I was, and I got a bit too much on top of my game, and at the end, I was like, well, I can do this. I'll just do something else, and I'll do it later.
Mm-hmm.
Being not an asshole, but I was definitely taking some responsibilities for granted, and
Correct.
now I like the challenge that's coming. I like it, and I feel like raising a child that's how I see it. It's a challenge, not in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I feel like I feel challenged in the way that like I want to succeed. I want to put myself, my child, and my wife in a position so we can succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, was the first thing we bought the house for was, well, we need to build some sort of nest if we want to have a children to be
a child. Yeah, right, for sure.
And everything's been doing like it's been done thinking this was coming. Mm-hmm. Now it is here, and it's a bit blurry, but I think the direction is kind of clear. So now the challenge is right now is to make sure it's not dying, and we put food in
That's
their
it. That's it.
It's simple. It's not easy,
but it's simple. But it's a simple goal. That's it.
And probably not easier. But I like the fact that the challenge is to raise a decent human being that you can empower to stand for themselves.
Yeah.
And eventually, I'm not going to be there to defend this person. I feel like, you can either, there's this weird quote in French, but I'm going to try to translate it and tell me if it doesn't make any sense. You can, and you probably heard about it before. Definitely. I'm not making any groundbreaking stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
You can teach a man to fish.
You can teach a man. You can give a man a fish, or you can feed him for a day, or you can teach a man to fish and feed him for a lifetime.
I feel like if you give your child the tools to stand for themselves, like when you leave, when you're gone, you're gonna be fine. You don't want to leave. You don't want to leave. Feel insecure.
Yeah.
But I'm all talking, and like Lou is literally like 18 days old, so it's hard for me to be taken seriously. But
it's not, dude, because listen, man, this is when you do the most self-reflection. This is when like you start to realize the ramifications of this thing that you've partaken. Because right now it's simple. It's eat, sleep, poop. That's it. That's what it is. Eat, sleep, poop. Eat, sleep, poop. Like for now, the amount of worry you have is in your head. It's like necessarily for the child. You just got to make sure that, you know, like they're doing those three things and that they're not in pain or anything like that. Right. Like, so it's a fairly simple process, but what the crazy part is what goes on in your head, because now your brain chemistry starts to change over and it's like, okay, I need to protect them against this. I need to make sure that's set up. I need to have money to do this. I need to be able to do that. If she can't do this, I've got to make sure this is good. Like your brain starts to unravel at a certain extent, because you got so much that's going to go on in your brain about taking care of the kid, being there for the kid. How do I raise this kid? What do I do? How, like, you know, all these questions start to,
is my crappy car safe enough for her?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
The list goes on and on and on and on.
It just keeps going.
And if I may ask you a question,
Mm-hmm.
how old is your daughter?
She's 3 now.
Okay. And what's the roughest part from toddler? Well, a toddler is a certain age, but a newborn and 3 years old. What's the roughest part of it? The terrible two, the fact that they start speaking to you, or the communication that's going on. Like, there's got to be a step out there. It's not an easy thing going on.
No, nothing's easy. But you know, the weird thing is, like, really each phase has its own hardship and benefit. You know, the early on is hard for you because there's something you like, you know, as far as food and everything for a baby, there's some things, you know, you just can't give to the child because of the connection with the mother, right? That's the hardest thing. When they start getting bigger, you know, and they can move around a bit and they can start to do stuff and whatever, they start becoming aware of their surroundings. So they start developing likes and dislikes, but they can't communicate.
Yeah.
Right. Like through means of which you are. So there's that frustration that you get because you want to give this child whatever it needs, but it can't voice its opinion. Right. So it'll just sit there and cry sometimes and you know, whatever. And you're like, you know, you're holding it. Like, I remember some nights I'm literally just holding her like in front of my face, like, just what's wrong? Do you want this? Do you need this? Like, I will, like, whatever it is you want, just like relax. It'll be okay. We'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Like just whatever it is. And like, you know, some nights she had like tummy aches because she had gas or whatever it is. And I'm holding on, like, you know, I'm sitting in this, like, this feeding chair. I don't know if you have one yet, but like, so my mother-in-law got a feeding chair for my girlfriend, this like kind of half lazy boy couch thing. Like, it's kind of comfy, but it's not really. So, I mean, I don't know how many nights I fell asleep in this thing. And then, like, I'm a big guy, so I'm like 6'5", 240. And I've got like one leg that's like leaned over the side. I'm trying to lie back on this thing that's like right here. So like my back's all jacked up. And at this time I had 3 herniated discs in my back. So I literally at one point, which was crazy. So for me, when I'm like, you're struggling. Yeah. Don't, like, I'm there. I get it. I understand. But I had 3 herniated discs in my back that I didn't know. I had, I was at a client's house and they have like those concrete steps. And their whole thing was icy. And I had some previous back injuries before, just nothing was bad enough that it stopped me from doing anything. And just happened that day before I was going to go teach CrossFit, I had just gone and slipped down the steps, right? And I felt it like hit my back, but I didn't really feel anything at the time. Went and trained, but then the next day I got up, like, I was so immobile. Like, I could not do anything. And it was like that for a while. And then I had to eventually go get MRIs to check my back out. But the whole time I've got this infant toddler who I've got to rock to sleep, who I've got to, you know, lean over and put down into a crib. I mean, like, there was some points to where like my back was so bad, like I had to like sumo squat down to drop her, like to let her into the bed to lay her out. And so many times, like, I would just, because I would jerk because I was trying to catch myself. Like I'd shake her and she'd wake up a bit, and I'd have to then pick her back up and then walk around again. And then the whole time I'm walking, my back is just seizing up. And it's just like, I went through this for like at least 6 to 8 months with her, just trying to fix things and do stuff and just try to manage. But that taught me, that was a valuable lesson for me, because it made me realize that no matter what the fuck's going to happen, I'm always going to try to be a good dad. Like nothing, even that is never going to stop me from like being a good father. And it also motivated me to get like serious rehab to figure out ways to rehab my back, and being a trainer, like I understand how things work, but to really delve into what do I need to fix? How do I need to fix it? What can I do? Where do I start? How do I get to the point? But to go back to your question, it's like every phase has its challenges. Okay. Like right now, the biggest thing is she's a super smart kid. And like, I can't, it's all I ever wanted, right? That's like I said, all I ever wanted was her to be smart. Well, it's a double-edged sword, motherfucker, because the smarter she is, the easier it is for her to counteract everything you fucking say. So it's like, so you know what I mean? I'd be like, okay, sweetheart, it's time to, we got to go brush teeth and go to bed. Okay, but I want to do one thing. I was like, okay, sweetheart, what do you want to do? I want to do this puzzle. Okay, sweetheart, we already did a puzzle. We can't do another puzzle. We'll just do this. Well, why not? Yeah, well, why not? It's like, well, but because, dude, we got to go to bed. You got to get a certain amount of hours of sleep. You got to do it. Well, yeah, but and it's just like, son of a bitch. And then she's got this thing now where we ask her, right? Because a big thing for me is I want my child to be able to make choices. I don't want to be one of those parents who makes the choices for my kid. So from early on, when she was, as soon as she really could start coherently understanding choice, I'd be like, sweetheart, what do you want to wear today? And have her choose her clothes. You know what I mean? So that she could choose. She's like, I like pink. I like that shirt. I like this. I want these socks. Okay. Even if it didn't match at first or whatever, I don't care. I just wanted her to get used to being able to choose, to have a preference. You know what I mean? I think it's important that people understand that they have a preference and that they can act on that preference and that they can decide what they want. You know what I mean? She still gives in. Like if we got to go for a holiday or whatever and she's got to put a dress on and stuff, she still does it. My girlfriend still dresses her in what she wants to dress her. I'll still dress her in, like some kind of like cool, like, chino pants or a sweatshirt or something like that, put a backwards hat on her, dress her like a tomboy. I'll do that every once in a while. But for a large part, we let her choose her thing. So at nighttime, we ask, who do you want to read a book? Do you want to read a book with mommy or daddy? And then she's like, oh, I want to read a book with mommy. Okay, cool. So brush your teeth, send her with mommy. She goes into the bedroom. She sits on her bed. She'll read the book. And then she'll do this thing where she's like, oh, I miss daddy. Because she's trying to buy more time to get us to switch, right? So then at first we were like, oh, okay, cool. She's like, she wants to sleep with you. Okay, cool. Fine. Oh, I miss mommy. And then so we're like, oh, okay. This is just the whole freaking, now it's I have to poop. She'll just be like out of the blue. I'll be like, do you actually have to poop or are you just buying time? And she'll laugh. She's like, I'm just buying time. I'm like, okay, see? All right. We got it. But I mean, that's just it, man. Like every aspect is going to have its good and bad, right? Every evolution of your child is going to bring forth new great things. Like now she's always asking for everything in bilingual terms. So it's like she'll say something. She'll be like, Daddy, what's this in French? Daddy, what's this in English? Daddy, what's this in whatever? The other day she asked, what's this in Spanish? I was like, ask Google. Google will tell you what it is in Spanish. So there's not really one thing, man. It's like you're going to have your, like I said, but it's one of those things, man, where you really, I hope nobody tries to go through this thing trying to find a cheat sheet, because there really isn't one. Like you really need to delve yourself into parenting and understanding that the chaos that you live in is molding you into a better human being. Like it's shedding away the non-existent bullshit that you've collected over the years, and it's withering you down to this like smooth, perfect like version of someone who can deal with the stressors of taking care of another human being. You know what I mean?
I do. Well, actually, the whole process of no sleep. Now I feel like it's molding this patience I'm gonna need later on. I'm
Yeah.
not saying I'm not a patient person, but I wouldn't say I'm the most patient person
No.
either. I'm patient for a certain amount of time, and then it's a clean break. Then
Yeah.
I go fuck you real like
Yeah.
real fast. I'll be patient for a while. I go not
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
And this scares me as a father or early on because like that's another thing. I feel like women, and now I'm gonna say something. I hopefully nobody's gonna be mad, but I feel like women are really good at like this warfare of psychic whatever. Like they think they're brain ninjas, and I'm not
Yeah.
really good at this. Like I'm straight up to the point, and when someone's trying to manipulate me around, I won't see it coming. Of
Hmm.
course, you can't see it coming, but later on, I don't like to be manipulated, and I feel like I remember my sister starting to cry to get something,
Hmm.
and and 2 minutes earlier, she would talk like a grown ass human being, like
Yeah.
adult, and then from 2 seconds she didn't get what he wants, she starts crying, and then my father would go around like, nah, you were an adult a second ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bullshit, I'm not fucking buying it, and I
Yeah.
know it's gonna be like this. It kind of scares me because like I think my father did a lot of things correctly as a
Yeah.
parent, and but he wasn't good at other stuff, and I'm
Sure.
probably not gonna be good at certain things. But there's this part I want to keep. Like I feel like there's this patience I need to build is going to be important. And I feel like those long and everlasting night of no sleep are part
Hmm.
because at the end of the day you come to a point where you're like I remember like I think it was yesterday or the day before the whole night she was crying and I couldn't understand why, and then there's this big fart that come out of her
Right.
and then suddenly quiet. Now it's 4 in the morning and now I could just the only thing I can do is laugh, and my wife is laughing and we're like
That's it. Right.
this for a fart, like the
I
whole
mean,
and then
yeah.
you get to that point where you're like, well, it's not that bad. Once this
Yeah.
happened, the whole frustration part went away right away. And now I'm starting to get some smiles. And this is a payoff right now. Like
That's
I'm
it.
these moments.
Yeah.
Uh, but the patient man, I feel like you said, I'm molding it or I'm building it for
Yeah.
later on because I'm not that type of person. I go from zero to no bullshit real fast. And I know
Hmm.
you can do that with a child. And I'm gonna have to get ready for that eventually.
I'm kind of like that's is where I'm at now at 3 is kind of reeling the bullshit. But the flip side of that is, and something that my girlfriend has always talked to me about, is that you have to realize that manipulating people is a valuable thing that a lot of people actually need, and especially being a woman, as my girlfriend points out to me in many instances, the ability to manipulate or be able to predict behavior like I do in psychology is a valuable is a valuable asset. And although I want my daughter to know that she can't bullshit me, because most of the time I call her and explain exactly what she's doing so that she knows I know what she's doing, but she still gives me the evil smile anyways. I don't necessarily want her to lose that, because
It's a
let's
tool.
face it, in life it's a tool. For the fact that she could sit there and she'll understand how to coerce somebody into getting what she wants when she needs it. Well, it may be something that along the lines it may need, and I'm going to breed an honest child, because she's always been honest. She's always said exactly what's on her mind. And I always want her to keep that about herself, because I think it alleviates a lot of bad people from being around you when you're like that. But at the same time, I also want her to understand that, if you make somebody ease up because you give them a little bit of a smile or something, or whatever, or you talk about something in a certain way, there's ways to work the situation a bit to where it's not so hostile.
Yeah, you avoid a lot of problems with these. But then again, like you said, honesty goes a long honesty card. If you can get to raise a honest child, like I feel like the minute I learned really late the brutal honesty card as a human being
Mm-hmm.
never failed me. It may not nice on the instant, but it never fucking fails. Honest to
No.
God, like it fixes pretty much. If it doesn't fix everything, it concludes the problem, or things are moving on from there.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a very important card a child should have in her deck of life. But the manipulation part, her mom, here's the thing: Vanessa is not a manipulative person, but she'll set up things.
Mm-hmm.
She'll prepare me mentally to accept certain things.
Yeah.
I'm a stubborn person sometimes. I have in French we say des opinions arrêtées. Like
Yeah.
even something I'm really open to be. I think I'm a very teachable person.
Mm-hmm.
If it's blue now, it's blue, and you have to explain me why it shouldn't be blue.
Yeah.
For some unknown reason, and then you start explaining it, and I go, okay, fine. But then, and my wife's been really good at setting the whole thing for me to just, either concur with her or just understand why we should be doing certain things. But I
Mm-hmm.
felt it in a mean or a manipulative way, or trying to do something to get the. It was always to get the best for both of us, not
Right.
trying to get something away from me.
Yeah, you trust her.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I hope that she gets that from her mom, because
She,
I'm
yeah.
naive, and this it's a hard world to be naive in. I got
It
surrounded
is.
people who are honest and nice, but it took me a while to get there, and I've met a lot of shitty people around the way. So
That's it.
she's not that. And
That's it.
I don't want to show her that part of me, because I don't want her to get that from me. I don't know. It's weird.
I think the more honest that you can be with your kids, the more they learn to respect honesty and sense bullshit. You know what I mean? Like when I think about like my parents, like my father has always been blatantly honest with me about everything. Like he's never, I can say that one thing about my dad is he's never bullshitted me about a single thing. Like no matter how hard it was to hear or whatever, like he was always honest with me. My mother, on the other hand, would try to sugarcoat stuff, not say things, all this kind of stuff. So I saw both sides of the coin. And I understand from my mother's perspective what she was trying to do, but I also respect on my father's side that, if shit was bad, he'd just say it was bad. Like if shit wasn't good, that was it. He'd just say it, and he'd kind of have to live in it, like for a little while. But I think when it comes to raising kids, you just like, obviously you don't maybe tell them the whole story right off the bat because you don't want to scare the crap out of them, but you try to keep it as real as possible with your children, trying to, make things as impressionable and as honest so that they understand. The flip side of that, though, is like what would happen with me a lot when I was young is that because I had these parents who were pretty honest with me and who would say whatever, when I met other people who weren't, or other people like you who are manipulative, it made no sense to me.
Yeah.
I was confused. I was weirded. I was like, why would somebody do that? Why would somebody be mean like that? Like I could not understand for the life of me why people were bad to other people, because I just was never around that early on in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then once
like what purpose it serves, then for you it's like
you don't get it.
Why would you do that? Why would you do something like that? And as you get older, you understand that there's an agenda.
Mm.
A lot of people,
there's an agenda, or there's past trauma that's coming into play. There's learned learned ways of dealing with situations. There's heartache. There's all these, like, humans are complex things that never really, we're like sticky boards that, like every time something happens, a little piece of it stays with us as we go along, and it's whether we act upon these small things to push forward, or, do we kind of just say, yeah, it happened, I accept it, let's move on from it. And, we just know that when that situation comes up again, we deal with it.
Personal, like it's just baggage that comes with everyone.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
I feel like you're responsible for part of the baggage of your child. You got
well, that's it.
Like, what's going to be in there, because there's a lot of positive, but there's going to, like, somehow nobody's perfect and nothing is perfect. There's going to be a bit of negative in there, and hopefully if you give them the right tools to, stand up for themselves, they can get away from it. I don't know.
Yeah. And one of the hard things that one of the things I've been meditating on lately is trying to remember that you know, because she's going to start coming of like, she's 3 now. So she's going to start becoming of the age where she's going to, you know, experience things and want to do stuff and everything. And it's going to carry on from there, is that regardless of that, your experiences, your child is going to want to experience things for themselves. So even though if you know something is going to end up in a bad way, I mean, obviously you're not going to put your kid in any kind of harm, but like, you know, if your kid wants to do something that may not be as you know, pinpoint or as effective or as efficient as you would see it be, you got to kind of just let them go through their own paces. You got to let them discover things, fail at stuff, pick up, try something new. Like you got to let this process work its way around, because if you stop your child from experiencing things, they will go and find a way to experience it later. And that lack of experience early on will lead to them even abusively experiencing something later.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, we always see it, right?
We started ourselves.
Well, that's it. But like, you always see it with like the kids who have really repressive parents who don't let them go out, don't let them do stuff. What happens when they get out?
They go nuts.
They go crazy. They spend their money. They do shit.
I remember you remember those party at Concordia when you get those kids from Ontario that never were allowed to drink. They were never around booze, and then they go crazy because their parent was so strict. And me, I was raised with like basically people drinking and smoking around me, so it was normal.
Yeah.
So I was adapted to that, and was like, and I knew that I didn't need to have like 15 Smirnoff in order to have a good night. You know, I was like, very young, but I feel like it's the same thing with kids. If you put those boundaries and those restrictions too tight, like the only thing you're gonna want to go is go out of them.
That's it.
You just have to. It's like put them in the right direction. And I feel like on other level, I remember as a young adult, not a teenager, my father was like, stay at home, make sure you don't have to pay bills, and just put your money down so when you want to leave, you got some money. I was like, no, I need to go have my own apartment. I don't want to work for you anymore. For sure. And I was basically, I was a very poor person. I was working in bars, but the only income was from the bars, and I didn't have a lot of shit. I was, I'm like what, 5'11", 225, 230, and I was like the same height, but I was 175 pounds. I was not eating properly. I had to go. I was rushed to the hospital because one of my kidneys was failing from eating nothing and drinking booze and having Red Bulls every like two times a day. It was nothing, but I had to learn to be stupid poor.
Yeah.
And then from there, I don't know, like this is the bottom line. I can't go back.
That's it.
And then from then, but my father did something good. I never skipped deadlines for money. My rent was paid, but my body took the toll on it. But still, I had to do this part on my own. I had a business for a year called Vert Fluo for a while. And my father told me a year later, is like, when you came up to me for this idea, I thought it was a shit idea, but I felt like you should just fucking do it and figure it out for yourself, because there was a big learning curve in there that you picked it, and it made me an even better employee later on, and better at what I do. But this part, and I got to say thanks to my father, because he's the business guy in my family, and he said, he would always do that. He would go, this is what you want to do, this is how I would do it, or why I wouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. And then AB, whatever you do, I give you, like, I spoke my piece. Can you say that in English?
I said my piece. Yeah, that's it.
And then you're done. Like, there's nothing I can do from now on. And well, I was older. You knew I would do it anyway. But like, I feel like give him the right. Like, kids cannot always land in the right path, but if they take the wrong one, they can learn from it. Mm-hmm. It worked for me, but then as a parent, how do you not go crazy? Like, if they do this is going to go bad. How can I help them or protect them properly? For like, I want them to experience the bad things so they know, but I don't want them to go as low as I did when I was working bars and, like, basically going.
But the thing is, I think what you got to look at in those kind of scenarios is that you weren't in any mortal danger, right? Yeah. Like.
Well, I was hospitalized, but everything was fine.
I know, but like, it was you being stupid, right? Like, but the point is that, like, you weren't, like, you weren't working with the mafia or anything like that. You weren't doing anything that was going to put you in serious danger. I mean, it's bars in Montreal, so you're always working some close with some organized crime, whatever. You know what I mean?
No.
But again, and it even comes to that thing. Like I was talking this too with my girlfriend, is that like you can't sugarcoat shit for your kids. Like there will become an age where, like, because you see it, right? We all have friends who are well off to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Their parents got money.
Okay. Again.
The parents got money. They give them money. They get a new car when it's time to get a car. They do all this kind of stuff. Whatever, they get whatever they want. Whatever they. The problem is, and sometimes it works out fine. Yeah. Like sometimes it's okay, but you see what happens when people don't strive for stuff, when they don't work hard for things, or things are just given to them. There's a certain level of like I deserve this. It's not I worked hard for it. It's just, I just deserve it. Like this is just how things should be. And we both agree that that's not really something that we want her to used to. Like we want her to have a roof over her head. We want her to be safe. We want her to be smart. We want her to understand, but she's going to work for what she has.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm like, listen, man, like if we get her a car for her first car, it's going to be a shit box. It's not going to be a new car.
Obviously, but this is just, first of all, it's extremely funny to watch your kids struggle with their first car, I believe, because my father laughed at. But here's the thing: I come from a family. The family business was a garage, so like I got it really easy with cars. I got a shit car. My first car, it was shit, but I had to do everything on my own. I had to fix it. I had to put it on the lift. But this part was a very, very important curve of learning that every kid should have, because if you get I don't know, the year, like
if your parents lease you a car, like
that's just stupid. No one child. Well, sorry if anyone's listening bought their child like the year's car, but like nobody takes care of their first car, or if they do, it's because they're into it and everything. But like it's a very, very teachable moment. The first car, I think it's one of those moments, like the first apartment, and stuff like that. But I 100% agree with you. Things need to be earned, because this is how you can understand the importance of value. Like you don't understand the value of money or how things are worth unless you've worked for them, like to get there. And it's important to get this difference between those kids that got everything handed to them. I was part of that because I went to a private CJIP early on, and I was part of those poor kids, which I wasn't poor, but compared to the other, I remember having a kid getting like close to $2,000 a month plus an Audi, and he would complain because back then it was 2003, 2004, 2005, something like that, and he would complain because his Audi was a 99. It was just stupid. And I've been part of those kids that were raised on another level and couldn't understand they couldn't understand how money would work. They just had it. So this is not scary because I can't offer my child this kind of money, but I feel like if you give too much, you lose sense of what things are worth, and then they get lost through it. You're not helping them in the long run. Like
you want to protect them and defend them, but at the same time, I don't want to take away from any life experiences that she needs to have to grow to be an honest person. You know what I mean? Like I don't want her to feel like when shit hits the fan that she's got nowhere to go, or that she doesn't know how to get herself out of a rut. You know what I mean? And for me, those little instances of, like you said, like having a car, having, their first apartment, that kind of stuff, where they have to work to pay for it, or they have to work out, whatever. It's a valuable lesson because it teaches them what it is to have a responsibility to something that they're going to end up needing. You know what I mean? Like nowadays, if you're an adult, for the most part, you probably do need a car. Like, I mean, we live in Montreal, so it's a little bit, you probably could get around, but, for most of us, we have a car, or for, I think, a major majority, we have a car that we drive around. And
I don't have a car, but I do agree with what you're saying. I'm fortunate enough that I can go to work. Well, right now nobody goes to work. I work from here. But I used to take the bus and everything. But my wife owns the car, like we own a car.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
need. Like
It's it.
you kind of need it, whatever you do, and
That's
especially
it.
if with a child. I wouldn't picture myself without a car, right?
Yeah, that's it. You know, like, would you like? My girlfriend's taking the kid on the metro and the bus before, and she's like, "God, it's the worst." Like, she's like, "I feel so bad when I like see like I honestly, when I'm driving home and I see a mother with her child, like I feel horrible because I really just want to drive up and be like, where do you need to go? I'll take you where you need to go. Like it doesn't matter. Just let me know where you need to go. I'll take you. Don't worry about it. Like, whatever. But I know it's going to seem so fucking sketchy and all this shit and whatever. So I don't. But like, I'd be that guy who's like, ma'am, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want you to be out here in the cold with your kid. Like, just go ahead, get in, like, wherever you need to go. I'll give you a lift. Like, if you have to get driven to the metro or whatever, or if you live close by, I'll give you a lift. Like, not a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't know. When I look back at the stuff that was like hardship or that I consider hard, like when I moved to California, I had next to no money. I was playing football. I was barely eating. Like if I got to class, it's because I woke up early and stood in front of like one of my buddy's doors to make sure that he didn't leave without me. Like, I used to miss classes sometimes because I would wake up late and because I couldn't get a lift to school. You know what I mean? And I didn't have money to get, like, I didn't know the bus transit or anything like that. Like, there was a bunch of shit I went through when I was in California that I was like, okay, whatever. But at the same time, I was like, okay, but this is making me appreciate what I have. Mm-hmm. It's making me appreciate, having a roof over my head, having parents who care about me, because now I know what it's like when you're completely by yourself, when like you don't have, and like you're depending on other people to do stuff for you or take care of you. Like, it's insane. Like, and it opened my eyes to realizing how certain people deal with life and what their situation is. And it's just, I don't necessarily want my kid to have to go through that exactly.
No, but a certain amount of challenge and perspective, maybe
that's it.
I may say, so you can understand. Yeah, you don't want them to live this for like a very long period of time, but these experiences are definitely worth having in order to make sure that these values are learned, and also being able to discern what's like, this is really bad and I don't want to go back to this point, so I'm gonna have to work and make sure that things are all right on my side. It all comes back to raising a decent human being.
That's it.
Which, even though we're having a great conversation about it, I still don't feel I should be here talking about it, but still, it's getting there.
You're at that, like I said, you're at that perfect time, because now you're in that like retrospective time where you're seeing the road ahead and you're remembering what it was like beforehand. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's true.
You remember what it was like when you didn't have to wake up, when you could just wake up whenever you wanted to, because really you weren't responsible for anybody else. But now you're in a position where you're like, I'm going to be responsible for somebody else for the rest of my life now. Like, I got to figure this shit out here. So no, it's the perfect time to have a conversation like this, where you can see, where you can kind of look backwards and forwards and see where you're sitting and realize you're in that crossroad, that you're in that sweet spot.
And I remember I got one of my friends who got a child about 2 months before me, and he would always complain. Like, he's like, this is the worst. This is really bad. And now, here's the thing. It's not all unicorns and rainbow. Everyone was talking, like, it's just going to be amazing. It is. But I got to say that it happened a few times in the past 18 days where I went like, shit's gone. Like,
I like, say goodbye. That version of you, gone.
There's a little piece of my heart that just went,
gone.
Like, okay. And then Lou like smiled for half a second because she's so young, she doesn't do them.
And
often.
you don't
but
fucking.
I was like, all right, cool.
Worth it.
Like, yeah,
worth it.
But
you're like, I'll give it. Worth it.
I'm absolutely not in there's no such thing as a honeymoon. I'm not like blind to the obvious thing that's going on. And like, sometimes I just look at my child and I'm like, fuck, could you just stop crying for a second? I'm trying here.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a very humbling experience. I wouldn't say I wasn't a humble person, but I didn't know you could something could make you even more humble,
Yeah.
because like there's no way around it.
There's nothing in life that could fill you with so much joy or make you feel so helpless in a matter of a second as having a kid.
We should quote that. This should be on top of the thing. I mean,
Like that's like it's a split second endeavor like that. Like it's
to
you know
go
what I
back
mean?
to what you said earlier, it makes you realize, you know what, today wasn't that bad. I mean, she slept
That's
for
it.
5 hours. We did a bunch of shit. I had the fortunate moment of being able to drink my coffee while it's hot. Because,
Right?
by the way, people, having a kid is a lot of cold coffee, and
Oh, yeah.
movies are never a one sit. It's done.
Oh no.
It's over 16 days.
And get used to watching the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over. The one piece of advice I will give you is find something child appropriate that you like.
It's gonna be Star Wars, the old ones. I don't give a shit.
No, I mean before you get to Star Wars, like I'm talking about like.
You mean I have to go? There's stuff before
like,
Star Wars.
Find something you can tolerate. Like me, it's Paw Patrol. I can take Paw Patrol.
Okay.
Like over and over again, I can take it. Like I'll sit there, sing the songs, all this stuff. Like it's fine. It's dogs. Like for some reason, I'm like, yeah, it's okay. It's cool. Yeah. I'm fine with it. Yeah, but just find stuff that you can kind of like just zero in on. There's this thing called what is that stupid show called? See, I've got PTSD from it. It shut itself off in my brain.
But here's the thing: I have like this child of mine is the seventh of my my wife's family. Like,
right.
Her older brothers got 3. The second brother's got 2. Younger sisters got 1. So first, I feel. This is a bit cocky to say that, but I feel like we're kind of equipped. Like my wife was in daycare with toddlers and newborns for a long time, so she's not. We weren't oblivious to what's going on. It's not like I never hold a child or I never had to deal with younger human beings before. So I feel I have this. I wouldn't say an edge, but
what I say to that. You know what I say to that is, it's fun when you play with somebody else's dog. It's a completely different story when the dog is yours.
100%.
You know what I mean? That's the thing. That's another thing too. Before you guys go decide having kids, get a dog first. Because if you can handle a dog, you can handle a kid.
my wife hates dogs, hates animal in general. She's scared of them, so I didn't have this option. But at least what I was trying to say is like I did hold a kid before. I knew
for sure
how to hold a newborn. And it's special because the first time it's not yours, you're like, oh my god, mine is like,
yeah, for sure.
Really good, go on. It picks up really fast, and this is the part I like. Stuff that I wouldn't do before. I didn't know how to do, and like 2 days ago I couldn't do that. Now it's like bing.
It's like I can do it. How fast you can put how fast you can put a diaper on, just like one hand, like done, got it here, good.
Yeah.
Wait till you get to the point to where dad reflex kicks in. It's a thing. You know when you see all those videos of the dad just being like half asleep there, and then he just reaches out and grabs something. It just happens, dude.
You have it's automatic.
There's something in your brain that just turns on, and it's like you just sense something weird happening, like, and you react without like actually having to process a thought. Like the other day, she was sitting on the couch and she was on her knees and she was like jumping up and down, and then she was leaning forward. And like I'm sitting there cooking dinner, and out of the corner of my eye, I just see like her leaning, and I just, without even thinking, just leaned over, boom, reached, grabbed the back of the shirt while looking at the stove, looked over, saw her face like this close to the floor, picked her up, put her back on the couch. Don't do that anymore because you're going to smash your face. Just sit down. She sat down, went back, and just like kept cooking. I was like, I don't even know where that came from. Like, it just, your brain just clicks in. Like, there's something about, like, there's some primal thing, like, protect the child.
I had a moment early on, like this, the third or fourth day she was here, and I don't know if she stopped breathing, but you know, the one thing you should know about a kid is if it makes noise, there's air coming in. So that's good.
That's it.
Doesn't matter if it's coughing. Then for a second, and though a newborn changed color real fast.
Really
it's
quick.
not like, yeah. And I went like, oh shit, that's not good. And I just turned her around and went like, but, and she started coughing. I'm like, did I just had a moment where, was it real or was I crazy?
Let's just make that up. Yeah.
And my wife looked at me and she's like, no, that was a blue face. I was like, oh, and everything was fine. Now I'm like, holy fuck, this is gonna be like this for like
forever. Forever. It's gonna be like this.
But I take a lot of pride in those moments. I was always
for sure
like very protective, and I'm like,
for sure,
you know, and whatever. We're not going to go into details, but like I took a lot of pride in that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. And at the same time, it's like, I don't want to miss, you know, if something happened. And then I remember while the child was coming, she wasn't born yet, and I would watch videos on YouTube of how to give birth to my wife if something would happen. Like the basics. And what if the child stopped breathing? What if this? What if that? And I keep okay. And I'm thinking to myself, if I keep watching them, if it ever happens and there's the subconscious,
I'll be ready.
Thinking, I'll be somehow I'll know one thing that might change the outcome of the situation. You know, it's a pretty. This is scary fun, if I may say.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't want none of this to happen, but at the same time, if it happens, I want to be ready. I want to be there, and I want my wife to look at me and like, "Wow, you had a dad moment. That's pretty fucking cool."
So, like, I'll give you a little example. So our kid was our fourth try. Okay, of having kids. We have what is it called? We have a condition called Meckel-Gruber syndrome. So me and my girlfriend both have a mutated chromosome in the same place. So it's the whatever chromosome it is. The problem is this can lead to having like a 25% chance of the child not being viable in any way, shape, or form. Like it's just not gonna live at all. So this happened to us 3 times. Where the pregnancy had to be terminated because the child was not going to survive. Like there was no chance. One of the times she had to get what was called a DNC. Okay. So she had to, they basically have to flush her out because part of the placenta can get stuck on the inside. It can lead to bleeding, infections, all these kind of things, whatever. So I think it was the second time she didn't get it for whatever reason. And a piece got stuck in there. And I went back to work. I asked her, I'm like, are you okay? Do you need me to stay home with you? She's like, no, I'll be fine. It's all right. I'll be okay. I go to work that day. She messages me. She's like, Blake, I need you to bring me to the hospital. There's something wrong. And I was like, fuck. Okay. I didn't even talk to my boss. Like I literally just picked my coat up and took off. Like my boss saw me walk right by her in the elevator and just keep on going. She kind of just like looked at me like expecting me to say something, but I was so in my head, like where I need to go, what I need to do. I don't give a shit about anything or anybody else. I just went through. Raced home. She was like, I need to go to the hospital. I'm bleeding. I don't know why, whatever. I was like, okay, cool. I'll figure out. So whatever. Grabbed her pants, put her pants on, all this kind of stuff. Got her to the car, carried her to the car, put her in the thing. Ran, drove as fast as I could to get to the hospital. She was freaking out. She was in hysterics because she doesn't know what's going on with her body, right?
Like not knowing what's happening makes it 1,000 times worse.
It's the worst thing ever. So I remember, like, I'm sitting there, like I'm almost carrying her to get her to the thing, right? We're halfway down the hallway and she kind of just stops and she's like, I don't know what's happening. Like she's having a nervous breakdown, right? So I literally pick her up, run her over to a wheelchair, put her in the wheelchair. This security was like, you can't have it. I'm like, my girlfriend's having an emergency. If you got a problem with me, you can come take it from me. Took off, kept going down to the emergency. Got all the way back to the area where I knew where we were supposed to go. Basically just told the nurse, like, listen, she's bleeding. She had a procedure the other day because we had an unviable pregnancy, all this kind of stuff, like spitting out things, like not even thinking, just my brain's just like rattling off this stuff in a very coherent manner where it's like you're having this like out of body experience where you're doing something, but you're sitting back watching yourself do it. You wouldn't be able to ask yourself to do it 2 times in a row. I wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah.
Like it literally just started happening. And yeah, and then at that moment when we were there, she basically just fainted. And so like, and again, it's like thing came in as she was about to fall over. I literally like jumped in front of her, stopped her from falling, picked her up, and it was like she's there's something. So they put her on a stretcher. They took her in the room. They're like, okay, she's fine. It was just this. It's like left over the procedures, whatever. They took her. They took care of her. She brought her back. All this kind of stuff. All that to say, I didn't know I was capable of being that guy in that scenario. Like I always thought, and I've always been afraid of being that guy in that scenario because I always thought I would freak out. I always thought I would lose my shit. I always thought I wouldn't be prepared. But then going through it and realizing that like I took care of everything to the best of my ability in the way that I'm supposed to, everything was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like we did it. Like it was good. We figured it out. And that's just parenting. It's like there are going to be things you don't know, and there are going to be things that like you have no clue. And the best thing you can do is make the best decision you can. And if you don't know something, ask somebody, figure it out, find the thing. And even when it comes to your kids, don't act like you know everything. If your kid stumps you on something, be like, you know what, I don't know, but let's go find out together and see if we can figure out what the answer is. You know what I mean? Because I find that's what happens to a lot of parents too, is that they get caught up in this happened to my mom. This was the thing that my mom always did, is she always tried to have the answer when she didn't have it. And then afterwards she would like, she would, say like, oh, well, there was this or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I wasn't wrong. It's like, well, no, you were wrong. You were wrong. But it's
easier to not know and figure it out than to come back on your word and try and explain.
That's it. But I think that's also a very valuable lesson for your kids, because I think when your kids understand that you don't know everything, they don't hold you to this like godlike perception of that you are like, we were talking about before about like, with the sleep training in trying to keep that thing. Well, if you don't put yourself in this godlike figure of a box where you have all the answers to your child's life, you don't become that person to them.
Or you don't feel the pressure of being this person. If you already established the fact that I don't know something, I'll go figure it out.
Exactly. I'll help you figure it out. We can figure it out together. Like, let's do something.
The outcome's always going to be better.
That's it.
That's one thing I always did in my life. Is like, when people go, does someone doesn't understand? I'd raise my hand right away. Like, I don't mind being the dumbass that look like, hey, I don't get that.
Yeah.
Like, please say it again. And it happened a few times at the hospital. The nurses would come over, was like, no, I don't. Why would I do this like this? I don't get it. Could you do it over like again, please?
Yeah.
And we had a kind of rock and roll childbirth. I mean, she wouldn't go down right away. She was too high in the belly. So they had to take in French, we call it the faucette, which is basically a big pot pliers.
Yeah.
And it went so fast. Like her heartbeat's failing. If we keep pushing and we don't use the tools, we might end up having to reanimate the baby as it comes out. But at no point there was panic. I was just like, okay, so you gave me two options. Take this option. We're doing it. And the doctor is the fucking doctor. Like, I'm not gonna argue with someone who's been doing this for years.
Yeah.
And we're so, and my wife did the same. She looked at me. She's like, we're doing what she's saying, man. Let's go. And only to realize after that it could have been bad. Everything went.
It could have, yeah.
But for a moment there, I remember looking. We're all wearing masks because it's COVID. It was a COVID environment. My wife. Funny thing, she does the COVID test when we get there at like 3. Her water broke at 3, and we went to the hospital around like 5:36 because there was no pressure to go right away, and we live like literally a kilometer away from Chatham. So we get there. She does the test, and now she's giving birth within the next like second, and there's a nurse that comes in. She goes, she doesn't have COVID. We're fine.
Yeah.
We're like, are you fucking kidding me?
We're like, okay, thanks.
Yay. And so the baby comes out, everything's fine, but only to realize after that it was a crucial moment. Like, they're like, it was pretty intense, and nobody made me feel, or I didn't feel like
Mm.
inadequate at the moment. I was like, okay, well, it's A, B. We're gonna go with B because you think this is what you should know, and you have to lean the people that know more about it. So I don't have a problem with going, I don't know. Let's go ask grandpa. He probably knows, or let's figure it out on the internet.
Yeah.
Looking dumb for 5 minutes was never a problem with me. And I feel like if you can establish with your kid that it's okay to not know something and to go like have this urge to figure it out on your own and go look for things, it's a big plus because I mean, it's part of a learning curve that goes throughout your whole life to go
That's it.
through. Like, I don't understand this. Let's figure it out. But then there's the other people that become like, conspiracy theorists and everything. That's another thing to just build stuff. But no. I 100% don't mind not knowing. And actually, I feel like it made me feel more human towards other people when I go, I don't understand. Could you do it? Like, say that again for me, or why should I do this? And I feel like people are towards you have like their difference go down when you're being honest
Mhm.
about what I know and I don't know. And if they feel like that you are an honest person, the relationship gets better. You get a more fruitful relationship with other people.
That's it. That's the most. I think what we're all trying to establish is just trying to figure out a way to continue to be human.
Yeah.
And to keep that humanity and that humbleness and the ability to look at each other in terms of, it's like Joe Rogan says, it's like when he had a kid for the first time, he realized that, everybody starts out as being a baby. Like every messed up, screwed up person was a baby at some point. And that's something that we need to remember when we're raising our own kids, or when we're thinking about other people's kids, or we're thinking about other people, is that everybody started off this exact way. You know what I mean? So we all need to figure out how do we not streamline, but how do we make the best of these scenarios so that we can start to develop better people?
Yeah. It starts there. I believe
that's it. 100%. All right, dude. I appreciate you, talking about this new time. I'm sure the kid's going to get up soon and be running around.
Well, I was like, I'm waiting for a text message right now on the other.
That's it. You're waiting for the she's up.
I'm getting a lot of time right now. I was like, this is a good run. Who knows?
Yeah. Like, hey, this is great. But yeah, thanks again for coming on, buddy. Thanks for talking about this. It's great.
Always
all the best to you and little Lou.
Yeah.
I'll when things are a little, like COVID's died down a little bit, we'll come over and chill out
in my backyard. Barbecue in the backyard for sure.
That's it. We'll come and we'll have we'll have a little bit of fun time. We'll sit down, play with Uncle Blake, and we'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah. Hey, thanks again for the invitation. Always a pleasure. And
always, buddy. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
All right, Big Cat. Have a good one.